There's days where I was just like, oh man, give me a break. Oh, I'm just being treated like crap. Man, why do I have a dumb job? I thought it was gonna be like smoko time all day, but I'm really struggling with the digging and the nailing. I'm Josh, I'm a builder here in New Zealand. My apprenticeship was slightly different to what you might call the traditional. So I dropped out of school and started cleaning toilets at McDonald's. Long story short, I worked my way up the management chain there, was running a store. I had 10 years of hospitality experience and then decided that I wanted to try something hands-on. And so as a 25-year-old, I took on an adult apprenticeship for a local builder here. At the time, it was just me and him. He would have been what you would call a more traditional carpenter, and we did everything in the house start to finish, and a lot of little jobs as well. I vividly remember one job early on was that we had to dig a house footing, the entire perimeter, by hand. Basically, it was just past the 2008 crash and work was still quite sparse, and so what my boss did at the time is that he would get us to do as many jobs as we could, basically to stretch the work out and keep us busy. So what I do remember about my first year, there was lots and lots of dumb jobs, like digging, lots of nailing, punching nails in, bracket nails. We spent 2 months doing this huge rock retaining wall, and of course, being the apprentice, I was on like moving the rocks. And I think that first year you have to prove yourself to the team and also to yourself that you can kind of like hack it. I'd watch the builder and he would like just freehand with the skilly and like just he made it look effortless. And the same with nailing, like it felt like I either miss or hit my finger or I'd take twice as many swings. And so there's a number of jobs that, you know, you think you're useless, or I remember I was like scared of the skill saw to start with, and now I feel like I'm a little bit like my first boss, where I've got the confidence to just be like, oh yeah mate, we'll just rip that down on the skilly. It takes time to develop a skill, and so don't expect yourself to be awesome on day one or even in year one. Like, there's a reason why an apprenticeship generally takes 3 to 4 years. You have to get stuck in, you have to do it without moaning, because at the end of the day, if you don't do it, one of the more qualified people on site is going to have to do it anyway. Someone has to do it. Someone has to go and dig 20 fence post holes. And so, unfortunately, as a brand new apprentice, usually that's your like induction to site, and those are your jobs to do. And that's not just because that's beneath the builder. Now that I have, you know, had people work for me and I'll set them up with jobs, often I find something that, number one, I can easily explain, number two, they can easily learn, and number three, they can repeat. So with that repetition of using the hammer or the drill all day, you start to learn. Think about like when you're qualified and you have an apprentice, you'll have an appreciation for what they're going through, and you can relate to them and teach them a little bit better. And so I think that's important. If you're not quite loving things right now, think about like, well, what will you do differently? Because one day, most likely you will be a qualified builder and you will be in charge of people. And so that's your opportunity to improve the next generation. What age is too old to be a builder? It's such an ambiguous question, but my 5 cents worth on that is that there's never a right time or a wrong time, for sure. But what I think you need to think about is what's the reasons why you want to be a builder. Also, what are you trying to achieve? What's the end goal? Like, do you want a career as a builder, or are you just trying to like upskill yourself? Because if you are just wanting to gain some more skills and do some better DIY kind of projects, there's way better ways to achieve that than committing 4 years of your life, and most usually you'll probably be taking a pay cut to get that skill. Rather than going all in, how about taking like 2 to 3 months off your current job and working with or for a builder, even if you offer to work for free. Basically look at it as like this: if you invest a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you realize, holy moly, building is not for me, that's way better than you totally quitting your job, totally changing direction, and making this huge life-altering decision and committing the next 4 years, and then getting a year in and deciding like, man, this is harder than I thought, or I thought it was gonna be like smoko time all day, but I'm really struggling with the digging and the nailing. At the end of the day, a builder, qualified or not, apprentice or not, is still gonna have to chop wood, bang nails, lift stuff, move stuff. They're gonna have to work in the rain. They're gonna have to work hard. And that work can be really rewarding, especially when you come from like a management point of view, like I did. I found being on site so rewarding, and seeing, like, even if it was digging 25 holes, I found seeing those 25 holes at the end of the day was so satisfying compared to some of my management roles where I felt like I was fighting fires all day and using a lot of my brain power, but then I had nothing to show for it. One thing to point out is that building apprenticeship was kind of like my second apprenticeship. As I've talked about, I dropped out of school and started cleaning toilets at McDonald's. And essentially I did a business management apprenticeship with Macca's. And it's actually very similar to the apprenticeship I did for building. Like, you get your 4 folders and they each cover X amount of modules, and then there's practical tests you have to sign off in the store. And then once every 6 months we went to a block course and did a whole bunch of theory study. And basically when I did that, my first apprenticeship, my business management apprenticeship, I would always leave everything to the last minute, and it was always a mad dash. Like, my books are getting marked off tomorrow and I'd be up till midnight or beyond, frantically filling out answers and like just doing it all at the last minute. So then as a 25-year-old and starting my book work again, basically right at the start, I committed to myself that I wasn't gonna be that last minute guy. And I set up a habit literally in my first week that carried on throughout my apprenticeship, where I picked a night of the week. It was when my wife at the time was playing indoor soccer. So she'd go to indoor soccer and I would get out my BCITO folders. I had a mantra like just 1 page. I would open it and I would read just 1 page, or I would fill out just 1 page. And what I found is often that 1 page led to another page and another page. And before you know it, I'd read the entire chapter on timber and logs and growth rings and shrinkage. And actually when I finally sat down and stuck my head into it, I found that stuff genuinely interesting. You need to find time and space in your routine to be able to do that regularly. For me, I didn't find full-time work and study that hard, to be honest, but it was because I was only ever doing a little bit at a time. Sure, there was still times where like my advisor was coming tomorrow and I really wanted to like get a unit signed off. I'd put a push on to finish off something because I knew that he was coming and I wanted to get it signed off. Don't put the pressure on like signing off it all at once, but just do small amounts regularly. That would be my advice for how to handle full-time work and study. I hope you're a subscriber, by the way. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode.